You tweeted out that the Spurs need to make massive changes to their roster this offseason. Just try and help me figure out how in the hell De'Aaron Fox can even walk back into that city after the way he played in those finals.
Well, I mean, don't Rich Paul represent De'Aaron Fox and Mitch Johnson? You know, I saw Rich Paul on his podcast with Max Kellerman the other day, and he was basically saying, like, you know, how De'Aaron Fox is Tony Parker and Wemby is Duncan, and he said Harper is Ginobili. And I thought that was the most asinine thing he could have said. And I'm not disrespecting Ginobili. He bought into his role of being a six-man type guy, but that's not Dylan Harper. That's not Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper showed us that he's a starter and a rising star in this league. Is one person that the Knicks couldn't stop, and that was Dylan Harper. Why do I bring up Dylan Harper? It's because De'Aaron Fox is in his way. They owe De'Aaron Fox about $200+ million over the next 4 years. The problem is, do I believe they need to move on from De'Aaron Fox? Yes. The problem is, who's going to take on that salary? That's the problem. And people will say, oh, well, you know, hey, guess what? Maybe D Fox could come in off the bench. First of all, you're not paying somebody over $200+ million for them to come off the bench. Second of all, if you want your young star to continue to grow and play through his mistakes and be able to evolve in Dylan Harper, you don't need him looking over his shoulder. You don't need him walking into the practice facility or into the arena every single day throughout an 82-game season worrying if, you know, he's going to get put back on the bench for De'Aaron Fox. Man, I went back and watched that game, game 4 and game 5. D Fox was horrible. And I kept saying to myself, Miss Johnson, when are you going to put Dylan Harper into the starting lineup and let that man spread his wings? So the first thing that the Spurs need to do is try to find another home for De'Aaron Fox to get out of Dylan Harper's way.
Perk, it was so bad that Knicks fans started printing De'Aaron Fox Knicks jerseys. That they want to give him a ring. Like, that is just ruthless from those New Yorkers. But that's how bad it was. So I'm with you. I don't see a world where De'Aaron Fox can come back to San Antonio. So a hypothetical trade scenario for you that our producers came up with, our brilliant producers.
Okay.
De'Aaron Fox to Utah for Jaren Jackson Jr. What say you?
I say no.
Why?
I say no. One, they have a small guard over there in Utah that's on the rise in Keontae George. I believe that's, yeah. If I'm getting that right, yeah. I'm all over the place. And the Utah Jazz have the second pick. And I believe that they're probably going to draft, although Darian Peterson didn't want to work out with him, didn't take a meeting with him. Like Ace Bailey tried the same thing last year, and guess what? The Utah Jazz still drafted him. So, you know, they could possibly take Darian Peterson or Darius Acuff with the number 2 pick because I heard his workout went great. So it takes two sides to tangle. And me knowing Danny Ainge and Austin Ainge, who's running the front office. Austin, by the way, I've been knowing him since, you know, his breath was smelling like Similac back when I was in Boston. Proud of him. I don't think he fits the culture. I don't think he fits the mentality that, like, you know, that they want down there in Utah. Like, they want dogs. And I'm not disrespecting De'Aaron Fox, but I'm just saying, like, I don't see in the world where Danny is going to do that. They just traded for Triple J. They're not going to get rid of him.
All right, Perk, so make me smarter. Okay, obviously I didn't play in the NBA. You did. I'm trying to figure out what to do with the Wemby that was so good through the playoffs, and I thought was horrible at times in the finals. The turnovers not coming up big. Like, so I'm the Spurs. I bring Perk in and I say, I need you to sit down and figure out what to do with Wemby. How do you handle somebody that's supposed to be the face of the league that I think came up small in the finals over and over and over again?
Jay, I can't believe you straddling the fence right now. Meaning, I'm used to you being, you know what I'm saying, loud about it, but I'm going to say it for you. Wemby was soft. Let's keep it real. He was soft and he was scared, especially in the big moments. He did a whole lot of barking in the interviews, but he did no biting whatsoever. And if I'm in that locker room and they bring me in, the first thing I'm going to do is actually tell him to embrace being a big man first with guard skills. That's the main problem. The problem is that Wemby offensively wants to be Kevin Durant instead of Wemby being Giannis and being dominant in the paint. Every time he has that mindset, the Spurs win in great fashion. And the next thing I would do is he has to develop a signature post move. Like, I don't know what his signature post move, a face up to a jump shot. Like, every single time he shot a jump shot, or if he made or missed it, if I'm the opponent, I'm saying yes, because you're letting them off the hook. Last but not least, we have to keep the same energy that we would keep for Rudy Gobert down there in Minnesota. Wemby was getting his ass towed up in those 4 quarters. Jalen Brunson was picking on him. In game 4, Jalen Brunson put him in 21 of the actions. 21 in the second half. We're talking about the defensive player of the year. How many times did we see OG Anunoby tomato chest him and take him to the basket? Like, they were literally hiding. After game 1 and game 2, they made an adjustment and started hiding Wemby so that he didn't have to guard Karl Anthony Towns. Like, we're talking about the defensive player of the year who won it by a landslide. He got my vote. So the first thing that I would do is, one, we would have to have a real conversation, uncomfortable conversation, and tell Wemby, and I would have to tell Wemby, hey, bro, I need you to be a big man at all times. I need you to embrace being 7'5". Because the one thing that I noticed, even when I was at games 1 and game 2, is that when they announce Wemby's name and they announce, his position, they don't say center. You know that, right? He gets mad if the announcer says, this is Victor Wembanyama out of such and such France or whatever, starting at forward. So he don't even want to be like labeled as a center, which is crazy to me. Like, you're 7'5". You could be the most dominant player in the league by just embracing being a big man.
From one Euro big to another, Giannis will be the biggest offseason story in the NBA. Perk, I want you to look into your crystal ball. When does a Giannis trade happen, and where is he going?
Anytime soon. Anytime soon. I think he gets traded anytime before the draft. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened this weekend. If I'm Giannis, though, I don't think he's going out west. The 2 teams that he wants to go to, is Boston and Miami. He wants to stay on the East Coast. Now, the Bucks could trade him wherever they want to, but they got to do right by Giannis. And Giannis has more leverage than what people think. And people would ask, well, how? Because you don't want to get Giannis on the short-term rental, right? You don't want a Kawhi Leonard type situation. And Giannis is committed to, like, Boston or Miami to signing a long-term extension. So that's why if you're the Bucks, you got to make this work where Giannis want to go. But if I'm Giannis, I don't see why I wouldn't want to go to Boston with Jason Tatum. And if you're able to keep Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, now you cooking with something. Yes, you got to give up Jaylen Brown, which I believe Boston is ready to give up Jaylen Brown. I think that relationship overall has run its course, and not because Jaylen Brown hasn't delivered on the floor, but it's more so of Jaylen Brown with this. And I always say, I don't have a problem with people doing podcasts, but you have to be very, very careful when you're doing a podcast during the season because that one thing could damage a locker room, right? It could hurt relationships because you may say something that could be offensive, right? Like I'm still waiting on Jason Tatum to join Jaylen Brown's stream. Like Jason Tatum, I done seen him on a million podcasts, but I haven't seen him join Jaylen Brown, which shows me that that relationship off the floor ain't really there, which is cool because they won the championship that way. But at some point in time, speaking from experience, is no way in hell that we would have ever allowed somebody to have a podcast during the season, like while during the season, because we can't trust you. We might as well call you the police. At that point, we don't know if you go share locker room secrets. We don't know if you go share stuff we just studied on in the film room, incidents. We don't know what you go do. That's why it's a fine line and that's why it's dangerous. But if I'm Boston, I'm Brad Stevens, the first thing I'm doing is I'm putting together some type of package that the Bucks cannot turn down, and I'm bringing Giannis to Boston. That's Paul Pierce and KG all over again when you talk about Tatum and Giannis.
Okay, so if you get Tatum and Giannis the way you've constructed it, no Jaylen Brown here, who's the best team in the East next year? Considering what we just saw from the Knicks, who you got in the East next year if that happens for Boston?
I still got the Knicks as the best team in the East. I'm still a strong believer in Big Body Brunson. That what that man just displayed and showed is that he's a top 5 player in this game. He's unguardable. He's unguardable. When we talk about 3-level scores, and we talk about one of the most skilled guys to ever play the game, Jalen Brunson has entered that conversation. Like we could talk about Kobe and show him his respect, and rightfully so. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. We better put Jalen Brunson, right in that conversation. He averaged 32 in the NBA Finals. Magic didn't do it. Isaiah Thomas didn't do it. Steph Curry didn't do it. Nobody averaged at the point guard position that amount of points since like 50 years ago. And I don't even know if we was keeping track of stacks 50 years ago. Hell, I don't even care what happened 50 years ago. But I do know this. OG Anunoby, when we talk about valuable players, he's top 10 when it comes to his value and what he brings to the table on both ends of the floor. Every team in the league will probably give up a franchise guy to bring in OG Anunoby. That's how valuable he is. When you talk about giving up picks, like his value is worth probably way more than a Julius Randle or Austin Reeves, right? Like seriously, I would rather have 6'8", 6'9", a 3-and-D guy that does everything. His versatility defensively, like he guarded Fox, he guarded Harper, he guarded Wemby. Offensively, he shot 50% from the 3 throughout the playoffs. Almost 57% from the field. Automatic from the free throw line. You can't put a value on that. And Karl Anthony Towns, he solidified himself as one of the best big men in the game. Like when he came out in game 1 and game 2, and he was attacking Wemby off the dribble, and he was going at him, I was like, you know what? This the Towns I've been missing. But they just have a group that's gelling, and they're not satisfied. So I will still have the New York Knicks as the favorite starting next season coming out of the Eastern Conference.